Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Great episode, but there are two things that I need to say before I get into my review. First, if you're new to this channel, hello and welcome. I summarize and review the latest Sanchal Kapımı episodes, say what I like, what I didn't like, what I think might happen next. If you like these kinds of videos, like, comment, share, but most importantly subscribe so we can meet on a weekly basis. The second thing is I got a comment on my last review that said that I should write in the description below my thoughts on the second trailer or the third, because as you might have noticed, I film my videos before the second trailer is out. So that person also wants to know my thoughts on the other trailers. So I'm open to it. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this suggestion. I would love to do that. And yeah, just let me know down below if you'd like me to do that or not. So now we can start with the side storylines. First we have Erdem. He was hilarious. This whole Melek Erdem fight to be the best assistant to Engin. It was hilarious. I loved it. Then we have Ferit and Ceren. Ferit trying to kind of get closer to Ceren, kind of make up for the mistake he made, and she's very cold towards him. I completely understand her, because I wouldn't want a guy to use me to make another person jealous. And when he was talking to her, she was kind of starting to believe him. But the photographer for the campaign that Eda is going to be a model to, he came, Celine was outside, they hugged. Ferit looked at them and Ceren was like, okay, if he looks at her, he still has feelings for her, because before he looked at Celine, he said that he doesn't have feelings for her anymore. He just needs time to get over this whole situation. And then he looks at her and Ceren was like, well, I almost believed you, and then walks away. And you can really see his frustration that he really wants her, but at the same time he's still trying to work through this whole relationship thing he had going on with Celine. Anyways, later in the episode, Serkan is asking Ceren to kind of press charges against the person who leaked the story to the press about Serkan and Eda breaking up. And Ceren is like, well, what exactly are you after? Your image? And he's like, no, I don't care about my image. I just want the person who made Eda faint be held accountable. So that's his only reason, just for Eda to be safe and not to faint again, because he couldn't care less about his image. Ceren is liking that about him, and he's also begging her not to tell Eda. And then when Eda is asking Ceren what Serkan wanted from her, Ceren just tells her that he wants moral compensation or something like that. And Eda is putting two and two together and is like, oh my god, he only cares about his image, and gets kind of frustrated. But I'm like, girl, if you'd only know. Anyways, Ceren is kind of researching this whole incident, is looking at the footage that was provided by the press or whatever, and she finds out that it's the same reporter that kind of leaked the marriage contract between Eda and Serkan, and that was bribed by Celine. So she calls the reporter. The reporter says no, she has different sources, blah blah blah, is kind of deflecting. Ceren is also calling Celine, but in the meantime the reporter is calling Celine, warning her that Ceren is going to press charges, blah blah blah. Celine is kind of relaxing her, telling her everything is going to be alright, just don't say anything, because they don't have proof. And that's also what Ceren says. She can't go after her hint she has against Celine, because she feels that Celine is the person, but without proof she can't do anything, and that's why she thinks she might lose the case. She is so frustrated, she tells it to Ferit, and Efe is also there. So Ferit is begging Ceren not to go after Celine because it might hurt him as well. Ceren is like, why would that happen? So later he confesses to her that he actually took the picture of the marriage contract between Serkan and Eda because he thought it was a joke, sent it to Kaan, and Kaan gave it to the press. Eda also knows about this thing, so when Ceren goes after Celine, Celine knows that Eda knows, so Celine might go to Serkan, tell Serkan that Eda knew about Ferit giving the contract to Kaan, so maybe Serkan will then get angry with Eda. So it's really complicated, but Ceren got really frustrated with him and then kind of convinced him, you need to tell Serkan the whole truth, and that way the truth is out and you don't have to be afraid of anything. So Ceren is waiting for Serkan in his office, calls him, but he's not picking up, because I will talk about that later. He's at the hotel with Eda. Ferit comes. Celine is also there, listens to their conversation. Ferit says it's a good idea to confess everything to Serkan and that he will tell him everything everything, blah blah blah. Celine listens to it. Celine then goes to her office and writes a letter. Now in that letter, I don't know what is written. There are two possibilities. One is she might quit her job, because in the preview we see the new girl who's going to be the new PR manager, so she will have Celine's job. So it's either Celine quitting her job, or because she got blackmailed by Efe, which I'm going to talk right now after this, or she tells Serkan the truth. But I don't really think so. I really do think that she will quit her job. Anyways, what I wanted to say is when Ceren was really frustrated telling Ferit that she has a hunch that Celine might be the person behind everything, Efe is actually listening to everything. So before we see him there, he actually called, I think it was the grandma. He says that he will organize a plane ticket for the person to come, blah blah blah, so it won't be long till we see the old lady, which I'm really excited about. He tried one last time to get the shares from Ferit, kind of warning him that after he leaves the company everything will change and it's better for Ferit to sell him, so Efe, the shares. And Ferit is like, no, I don't care, I don't mind, blah blah blah. I'm really interested what he warns them about, because he also told Celine the same thing, that everything will change and life will be miserable after him leaving. So I do think that the old lady will cause a lot of trouble. But when he goes to Celine, he tries to kind of get the information out of her that she had something to do with the reporters, but she's like, what are you talking about, blah blah blah. He then goes to the reporter, asks her the questions and says, well, I did my research and I know that you also leaked the story with the marriage contract, and I know that you've been paid to shut up, and I do think it's less than what I'm going to give you. So he gives her a fair share, kind of, just to get the answer to his question that Celine actually paid the reporter. Then he also tells her that she should write everything down that she confessed to him. But then when he goes to Celine, he plays a recording of the reporter telling him everything. So I'm like, did he record her, or did she write it and then he told her to record herself reading what she's written? I don't know. Anyways, he goes to Celine, gives her kind of a prize, or was that before that? I don't really remember. But he also makes an offer to Celine to sell her shares. In that moment she doesn't really think about it, but then he goes to Celine, kind of blackmails her with that recording, and then we see her listening to Ceren and Ferit, and then she goes and writes the letters. I also thought it was quite cute when Efe was saying goodbye to Eda. He also told Eda that all his projects and clients will be Eda's now, because Eda told Efe that she will also quit her job when he's gone. But then he says, no, you can't do that, blah blah blah, because you have all those clients. So back to what I wanted to say. Leyla was very sad when Efe said goodbye. Eda was also quite sad, and I was surprised that Engin also said that he feels sorry that Efe has to go, because even though they had their differences, they made quite a good team and quite good projects. So yeah, then we have Aydan and Ayfer. So after Aydan called Altekin with his secretary, thank you to, I don't remember your name, but somebody commented on my last review telling me that that woman was actually Altekin's secretary. So because she was still so in shock, she was so frozen, and after Ayfer found out that Altekin was responsible for the death of Eda's parents, so she's so furious. And also when she has the talk with Eda, Ayfer is telling Eda to keep a distance from the Bolats. There shouldn't be any friendship, any work relationship. She just wants Eda to be happy and protect her from them. I was very surprised when I heard that she said to Ayfer that Serkan and Aydan didn't know about this, so they're not to blame. And I was like, finally, you matured. Anyways, Ayfer also says that Serkan and Aydan, she's not mad at them because they couldn't have known, and especially Serkan because he was a child, but she's really upset with Altekin. So when she goes and searches for him and she's very angry, Seyfi runs up to Ayfer, tells her that Aydan is in shock and she's frozen and she's not talking, blah blah blah. He's very worried about her because Altekin cheated on Aydan. The woman Ayfer is, she feels really sorry for Aydan. So she goes there, and then she kind of gets Aydan to talk again, to be normal again. When Ayfer is going, because she's like, okay, she's talking again, Aydan comes up with the idea to kind of get Eda and Serkan back together, because Ayfer told Aydan to keep a distance from Eda. So Seyfi has to run up to Ayfer, tell Ayfer that Aydan got stuck or frozen once again, and he's so worried about her, blah blah blah. So Ayfer goes back, and it was so hilarious because Aydan was drinking tea normally, and then when she hears Seyfi, she's like frozen. It was just so amazing. And then Ayfer kind of comes up with the idea that Aydan can come to her place for a couple of hours, because Aydan said that she can't go to a hotel and she can't also stay in this house because everything reminds her of Alptekin. And her plan is actually to stay at Ayfer's place, so Serkan will also come, stay there kind of, and they're all forced to stay together. When they arrive there, Aydan is packed with 2 suitcases and she analyzes everything. We also find out that she has an OCD kind of. She wants everything to be symmetrical. It was just so hilarious, her analyzing the whole furniture, her cooking with Ayfer, and then Ayfer trying to hypnotize Aydan to find out the real truth, like why is she playing like that. And then she's like, did Alptekin really cheat on you? Yes, he did. Will you keep a distance from Eda or something like that? And Aydan is like, no, we love her, we've always loved her, she won't get rid of us, blah blah blah. And then when Ayfer is asking Aydan if she has a second plan, kind of why she's here, Eda is ringing the doorbell and she's there with Serkan, because Seyfi called Serkan telling him that Aydan is at Eda's place, because Eda and Serkan were at the photo shoot, and Eda didn't believe Serkan that Aydan is at their place because she knows that Ayfer is really mad at the Bolats. So why would Aydan be at Ayfer's place? And before they go into the house, they have this conversation that we heard in the trailer where he's like, well, I accept everything, my past mistakes, blah blah blah, as long as you trust me. And you can really see Eda liking what she heard. Anyway, she still didn't really believe that Aydan was in her house. So when she rings the doorbell, Ayfer comes, and Ayfer is actually sending Eda inside because she wants to talk to Serkan, but Eda is like, no, I want to listen to it. So Ayfer is telling Serkan that he should keep a distance from them, blah blah blah. He also apologizes for everything that Alptekin did, and you can really see Ayfer kind of softening, saying, you've only been a child, like, you're not to blame, neither is your mother, it's all your father, and I really wanted to talk to him but I can't find him. And Serkan is like, well, if you really want to, I can find him somehow, and then when I found him, I will come with him to you. So he's kind of trying to kind of make it up to them. And then Ayfer is like, well, you should really talk to your mother about your father or something like that. So she kind of finds out that Serkan doesn't know about the cheating. Eda also doesn't know about it, so Ayfer sends Serkan inside to have a chat with his mother, while Ayfer and Eda are waiting outside to give them kind of space to talk about everything. Eda is also feeling sorry when she finds out from Ayfer that Aydan was cheated on. So when they're waiting outside, there's a creepy man standing there kind of listening to them, and I was like, oh my god, is this kind of a spy from the old lady? But later it kind of turns out that he was actually hired by Seyfi to play a creep, because he told Ayfer that Aydan is kind of being followed by the brother of the secretary from Alptekin, because Aydan attacked the secretary, so he kind of wants revenge, and that's why she couldn't stay in her house, but now he kind of followed them there. It was just so hilarious. And then Aydan also confessed to Serkan about the man, so Serkan and Seyfi are kind of going after the man, saying that he was caught, blah blah blah. That's when he meets Engin and Pırıl in front of the house. So Engin and Pırıl are sleeping. Pırıl gets a work call, and then right after that she gets into work mode, but Engin wants to sleep, and then he's half asleep, tells Pırıl that his mother wants to meet Pırıl. She is panicking on the inside, so she doesn't really want to meet her, or she's scared of that woman. So he comes up with the idea to kind of rehearse everything with Aydan, because Adam is also kind of influencing or kind of provoking these feelings out of Pırıl. So Engin goes there with flowers and chocolates, kind of like he's going to propose or ask for Pırıl's hand. Before that, when Eda was talking to the photographer, kind of getting introduced to him, Serkan and Engin are also there. Serkan is kind of half listening, trying to hide that he's actually listening to Eda and that photographer Can. And Engin is telling Serkan in the meantime that he wants to marry Pırıl. After Eda goes away, Serkan is really shocked and asks Engin if he really wants to marry Pırıl because he can't marry her like that. And also, he's then in his office. Leyla comes, gives him the address where the photo shoot is taking place, and he actually sees the ring on Leyla's finger. So he's also asking her, like, when did you get engaged? Like, everybody's kind of getting engaged near him and he has no clue about it. And then when she tells him that it's Erdem, he's like, wait, what? Which Erdem? Well, our Erdem, blah blah. It was just hilarious, amazing. So Engin and Pırıl are outside the door. Serkan also comes from following the mystery guy. They're going inside. Can, the photographer, is also there to kind of make a story around Eda, kind of showing people how she lives, how she is. I don't really remember. Anyways, he's kind of taking pictures of Eda with Melek. Serkan is also near her, tells Can to also take a picture of them, and then they kind of start discussing everything. They kind of start fighting, but not really, like in a very civil manner. And somehow they get to the topic of waiting for another, and she's like, well, I've waited for hours for you and you didn't come. And that's when it kind of clicks for Serkan, because at first he was really confused. What are you talking about? Because I waited for you at the restaurant and you didn't come. And Eda is telling him that she waited for him for hours and he didn't come, so it didn't really make sense. So Eda is going to the kitchen. He walks after her, which I'm going to talk later about what they were talking about. But Melek is kind of putting two and two together because Serkan gave Leyla the ring to put it back into Eda's pocket. So during that kind of fight Eda and Serkan had, Eda mentioned the ring in her pocket. So Melek is kind of putting two and two together, being like, okay, so Serkan put the ring back into Eda's pocket. Aydan is also here. Engin said that now they're here as a family or something like that, and he also came with flowers and chocolates. So she's like, oh my god, Serkan is going to propose to Eda. So she tells everything to Ayfer. Ayfer is losing her mind because after the conversation Eda and Serkan had, Eda comes back, is kind of making coffee, and she's like, oh my god, she's making coffee because it's kind of a tradition. Aydan is kind of starting to do the speech that you have to do because Serkan told her that Engin wants to propose to Pırıl. So after every sentence Ayfer is kind of interrupting Aydan, and Ayfer gets really angry. Then Engin is trying to calm everyone down, and Ayfer just bursts, I don't want to give Eda away. Serkan is like, I don't even want to have Eda now. Kind of like, I'm not the one proposing, it's actually Engin. Pırıl is confused, being like, why would Engin propose to me? Serkan is confused and asking Engin, haven't you proposed to her? It was just so chaotic. And then Eda also being angry at Serkan that he wouldn't want to ask for her hand. It was just so crazy. And then you have Can there being like, okay, let's take a picture together. Oh my god, so much confusion, so much misunderstanding. It was just hilarious. Anyways, is there anything else like concerning the side storylines? I don't think so. So we can move on to the Eda and Serkan storyline. So the episode starts with both of them waiting in different restaurants, kind of being upset and disappointed that the other person wouldn't come. So Eda is angry again, talking to the girls about him, he's not going to change, blah blah blah, and giving up on this whole relationship. Then we also see Serkan talking to Engin, explaining everything to him, what happened, blah blah blah. And Engin is like, well, now you can give up on it because she didn't show up. And he's like, no, I'm not giving up on this relationship. I'm not giving up on her. I will behave like she wants me to, like it's in the contract, and I will follow the contract because that's the only way I'm allowed to be close to her, and that's all I want. If I can't be with her, I want to be close to her, kind of. Then we have the scene in the company meeting where Serkan is asking Eda if she can come to his office because they need to talk about this golf club or something, where Pırıl got the business call from America. And Eda is kind of not really answering, being like, yeah, I will come whenever I can. And he's like, don't worry, I'm a meter away from you. And she actually comes to measure the distance. Oh my god, I laughed out loud at that scene. He then tells her that he will wait for her in his office, and she's like, well, I don't trust you that you would wait for me, blah blah blah, kind of hinting towards the dinner date they would have had. He's like confused because he's like, well, I did show up, you didn't come, so why are you kind of angry at me? But then she also tells him that she will leave once Efe is leaving, and that's when Serkan gets really desperate, goes to Engin once again, because we had that scene before when Eda said that she will go and then Efe came and she started working with Efe. So now Serkan is once again with Engin, kind of forcing him and pushing him to come up with the idea to kind of keep Eda in the company because he doesn't want to let her go. Then we have this whole meeting with the golf club. Pırıl is kind of presenting all the requests that came. Serkan is really absent-minded, and then after the meeting Engin is like, oh, I just remembered, I forgot that I have to be somewhere, so Serkan, I can't go with you, you should go with Eda. Eda doesn't like hearing that suggestion, kind of. Serkan is like, oh, okay, no problem. And then Eda says that she finished everything so she doesn't have to go, and then Engin is once again being like, oh, I forgot, you can't go because you have to do this thing here in the office, you know, that thing that we talked about. And then Serkan is like, oh yeah, I have to be here. So it was just so amazing. I laughed so much. Eda doesn't like either of Serkan's answers, and after she goes, Engin is like, well, you changed so much, oh my god, dude. And then Serkan tells him that Eda is way more important than any project, because Serkan told Engin that he should take care of everything, look at everything, do everything, because he needs to be close to Eda to kind of keep an eye on her. Oh, I think I got confused, because that thing with the 1 meter distance, it was actually after the meeting, because Serkan was asking Eda if there's really nothing keeping her here, and she's like, no. You could really see him being disappointed that she didn't say yes, you. And that's when he says that thing with the 1 meter. And then Celine comes, asks Serkan that this campaign said that him and Eda should do the shoot together, and Serkan is like, no, I won't do this, decline. And Celine is like, okay, wants to go. But Eda kind of calls her back, being like, why do you keep deciding things for me? Like, why do you keep interfering in my relationship with Serkan, in my life, blah blah blah. She kind of gets angry, but it's still very civil, so I like that Eda didn't scream in this episode. Anyways, Celine then asks Eda if she wants to do the shoot. Eda says yes, so that's how Celine organizes the photographer, so Can, and then introduces him to Eda, and then he's also kind of flirting with her. And that scene kind of reminded me of Akenci Kush, when Sanem's old friend was a model or something and Can had to do a shooting with him, and also the guy kind of looked the same. Anyways, before Eda goes to the photo shoot, she goes to Serkan, tells him about all the projects she finished. Serkan is really asking her, what can I do to keep you here? And she tells him, I'm so confused, you're pushing me away, you're keeping me here, I don't understand anything you want from me. So he's like, don't go. I was like, oh my god. And then he keeps talking, saying like, you told me once before, if I don't want you to go, I have to say don't go, so I'm saying to you, don't go. And I was like, oh my god. Then she's like, I don't want to be disappointed anymore. He's like, there's not going to be any more disappointments, you can trust me. And then she gets kind of frustrated, how can I trust you, blah blah blah. And I also promised Ayfer that I will quit my job. Then we have the photo shoot happening, so Can is taking pictures of Eda. He's actually kind of making her comfortable with the camera, because she said she's so awkward, blah blah blah, she's scared. And it was so hilarious, because when she's taking pictures of Can, Serkan suddenly appears in the frame. It was amazing. Can is telling Eda to go change, to do all those campaign shoots. Serkan is standing there actually watching them. Eda tells him, don't watch because I feel uncomfortable, blah blah blah. She then has this outfit like a pilot uniform. That's when she and also Serkan remember the time they had, and after that she has to do some headshots, and that's when Can starts really flirting with her, calling her an angel. Serkan doesn't like it one bit, and then Eda says, well, well take also a couple of pictures of Serkan. And after 2 pictures, he's like, okay, you're done. Eda goes, takes her bag, and Serkan is kind of, what's the right word? Oh, he's warning Can to keep a distance from Eda, because even though they're not in a relationship, they're kind of dating, and she's everything to him and he's everything to her, so keep a distance, blah blah blah, because Can invited Eda to go for a burger and she accepted. So when Eda appears again, he cancels, and Eda is looking at Serkan being like, oh my god, you did this. So that's when they go home, and then this whole Engin drama happens there. So after they had this little discussion at the table and Eda goes to the kitchen, he goes after her, and I was so happy that they could finally talk like normal people, discuss a problem without screaming, without being frustrated. So they kind of told each other that they waited for the other person at the restaurant, and Serkan is like, which restaurant did you go to? Well, I went there and there, and he's like, oh my god, that's the wrong one. So then he kind of understands that the cards were switched, and he does have an idea who could have been the person, but he doesn't say it. So I really do hope that he thinks that it's Celine, but I also do hope that we will find out who he thinks that it was. After Eda finds out that he was actually there waiting for her, she kind of softens up. So he's also asking her if this is kind of a new chance for them, and then she tells him she's so confused, and Serkan is like, don't think, just feel, and I know that you feel the same as I do. And I was like, oh my god, Serkan, I love you so much lately, because he's really following the contract, not getting too close to her, but then still being smooth, and oh, amazing. Anyways, after that, this whole misunderstanding of proposing blah 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 happens. So after Engin and Pırıl left, Serkan also wants to go, and Serkan is telling Aydan that she should just come to his place or something like that. Anyways, he goes outside. Eda is going after him. She then tells him that they talked anything but business, so only about personal things. So he starts laughing, then tells her about the golf club thing, blah blah blah, and then he asks her if he's allowed to pick her up the next day to go there together. She accepts without any hesitation, so you could really see her wall kind of crumbling, and I'm really excited for that, because that's kind of a sign that they will kind of make steps towards each other. Serkan is picking Eda up. He tells her that he missed this place and picking her up, and then they're not actually driving to the golf club, because Eda is also quite confused, why are we not going there? And he tells her that he kind of wants to make it up to her, so he asked the chef, Alexander or whatever his name is, to cook something for them. So he wants to make a redo of this dinner date they would have had, and nobody should disturb them. So when he sees that the restaurant is actually on the 25th floor, he says, okay, we're not doing this, let's go. Eda is kind of being like, no, I can't, yes I can, blah blah blah, you can go with the elevator, I will go with the stairs, blah blah blah. Anyways, he says, no, I'm not going to do that. She then tells him, okay, let's try. So they're both in the elevator, him trying to calm her down, telling her, turn to me, look at me, breathe in, breathe out, we can step out of the elevator anytime you want, because he pushed all the buttons so it would stop at every floor. So whenever Eda would feel uncomfortable, she can just go out, so it wouldn't be such a long distance. It was just so amazing. So they got closer and closer together, him hugging her because she was slightly panicking, then her cuddling up to him, smelling him. Oh, and then them looking at each other, and then they get closer together and he kisses her, and then the elevator door closed, and I was like, please don't, please open back up, I want to see everything. Anyways, that's the end. So thank god we got a trailer, and it was kind of confusing because now Serkan is telling Eda that he will give her a punishment, and her punishment is kind of to make 3 of his wishes come true, and she keeps asking him what are those wishes. And then the new girl comes. Eda is actually introducing the new girl as the new PR manager, so I'm really interested to see if the new girl was kind of hired or has a connection with the old lady in FM. Maybe she's Eda's cousin. that could also be a possibility. Anyways, back to the trailer. And there's also a party, kind of a themed party. Then we also have Eda second guessing her plan to change Serkan. Then we also hear Serkan saying that he already changed Eda and he will continue changing her. I do think that he's talking about her panic attacks and her fainting, so him being able to kind of soothe her, and he will try to make it up to her and kind of cure her from her panic attacks, if that makes sense. That's all I can say. We won't see Efe again. We have a new girl. I think the old lady, we have to wait a little bit longer for her. Yeah, is there anything else? I don't think so. I hope I said everything. I hope I didn't forget anything. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on this amazing episode. Also, if I should write in the description below what my thoughts are on the second and third, if there is any trailer. And yeah, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Ring that bell to be notified whenever I post something, and I will see you next time. Bye!